Hey guys, we are back here with another episode on CrossFit Garage Podcast, where we are helping you build a firm foundation in fitness, food, and fiancés, apparently. So there was about a 3-day span where I titled this wrong and my dyslexia got me. Fiancé and finance are actually both valid words. And if you can't spell, well, they don't care. It's a right word. It didn't underline it. So anyway, we're back to fitness, food, and finances. I am here with Mac McCann, who happens to be also a genetic donor for me. And he's my dad. He has got some interesting stuff to share. This is the primary idea behind this podcast is everything I wish I would have known or should have known when I was 13. And it's him going back and writing a book when did you write this book?
I have no idea.
Yeah. So there's another problem. As you get older, we're going to talk about some of these things. As you get older, stuff changes. Facebook has made me realize that my concept of time is way off. It's like, hey, 10 years ago, you guys went and did something fun. I'm like, what? That was 10 years ago.
I do remember this concept coming up when you were in high school wrestling. And so...
Did you write it then?
I did not write this book then, but the whole concept of thinking positive and applying it was implemented in your I am a wrestler mantra.
And I've mentioned that. So I think I've sort of brought this to a next level. So I credit my dad big time with getting me into the idea of going to, I followed in his footsteps. Imitation is the highest form of flattery. I'm an electrical engineer from Georgia Tech. He's a mechanical engineer from NC State. Don't hold it against him. And then he went into technical sales. I also then went into technical sales. He coached his kids in soccer. I also coached my kids in soccer. So I have really followed in the footsteps. So he's laid a great foundation for me to follow upon. And he has given us a lot of good things. Like when we were, my brother and I wrestled, he said, hey, give me some characteristics of a wrestler. And I did. And the next day he came back, he said, here you go. And he gave me a card and it was, I am a wrestler. I know my moves and execute them with quick, fluid motion. I am agile and flexible and can maneuver easily. I know my moves and execute them with excellent ability. I am aggressive and maintain my balance and leverage. I am an awesome wrestler. I win my matches. That's something like it. I ad-libbed a little bit, but I said this for 4 years and did pretty good. He set me on the track of you can adjust who you are in life simply by thinking it. So there's a guy, Napoleon Hill, wrote a book, Think and Grow Rich. And then there's everybody else, Stephen Covey, Andrew.
Norman Vincent Peale is a biggie.
Who is that guy? He's the originator?
He wrote The Power of Positive Thinking.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I think an aspect that you have that I think is great is positive mental attitude. And then I'm trying to develop a next step to it. Don't have just a positive mental attitude, but, and in addition to. And that in addition to is ongoing and growing. But, okay, so you probably introduced us, and you might not even remember that I know this, or maybe you don't remember it, but when Charlie and I got into high school, you gave us a book. Do you remember what the book was about school?
No.
Where there's a will,
there's a way.
No, there's an A. Where there's a will, there's an A.
Oh, okay.
So I'm a freshman in high school, and you gave me this book. I'm like, what stupidness is this? But it was fascinating because it was my first foray into, if I think I can do it, I probably can help myself get there in doing it. If I think I can't do it, I probably am not going to be able to do it.
That's so true.
Yeah.
And what's even more profound is you can think about what you want to be and it will occur.
It can, yeah. So I've heard, I'm going to go weirdly like Ouija board and Bible and all this on you guys. So these are things I've heard. It's not necessarily things I believe, but it is fascinating things to ponder. So one, people will say, hey, pray it out loud and you will I don't think it's this, but they're like, hey, the angels are listening, God's listening, or whatever. And it tends to come about, maybe. Some people say your words out loud and you're spelling words, thus you're casting a spell. I'm like, yeah, sure, I don't know if I buy that. I like this one though. The majority of matter is actually empty space. And that empty space is where you get into quantum mechanics. In quantum mechanics, Schrodinger's cat, is it dead or is it alive? Once you measure it, it's known. But before that, you don't know. And so the world of quantum mechanics, if you speak it out there, can you make things happen simply because you are forcing it into the world, into the empty spaces? I'm like,
Well,
fascinating.
the empty spaces could be your brain.
It's true.
So you're forcing your brain to reprogram itself to think positive or grab hold of the thought and make it happen.
So, and that's the idea behind this is you can, and there's, I guess, the idea of the little tangent there was there are many philosophies, ideas, whatever out there in the world utilizing the same strategy, okay? So let me back up. It's been about 10 or 11 years since I've had sugar. One of the main reasons I didn't eat sugar is if you go and look at everybody's diet plan or nutrition program, what's the one thing that all nutrition plans have in common?
Calories.
Eat less sugar, right? Every one of them will say, well, and limit your sugar, and stop eating sugar, and limit your sugar. So I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to do the one thing that they all said, which is don't eat sugar, right? So all of these things that I just mentioned have this idea of putting it into the world, or you can backdrop it and say the foundation is having a positive mental attitude. Yeah. Okay, so what is the title of your book?
Well, I wrote it for my grandkids, and so the title is What I Wish I Knew at 13.
Okay.
And so it starts off covering simple thoughts and builds into how to fix your thinking and tap into your superpower is what I called it. And your superpower is how to reprogram yourself to think positively.
That's awesome. So funny, I like tangents. So I took my dad's book, I uploaded it into a Google Doc because I do not have Word on my computer anymore, and it immediately started underlining everything. I'm like, oh, there's dyslexia, our old nemesis. You had so many things spelt the way I would spell it, or like, your is your, not you are, or whatever. I'm like, oh, they got me up. Yeah, not so many. There's probably like 15 things that it immediately was underlining. And I'm like, it's so funny that like, in its stuff, I read it. I'm like, that's not right. Like, I totally would have wrote it. I'm like, that
sounds right. But
I don't know. So it goes from this dyslexia goes from you to me to Evie. I'm like, well, we will rise to the challenge. Okay, so this ebook I'm going to make available if you go onto our website, CrossFitGarage.com, and there's a bunch of different ways to jump into our lead system, and I'm going to attach it as a footnote or PS or whatever postscript of the first email. So you're going to get an email from us and a text. The text says, hey, we have you in our system. The email says, hey, this is the first email. It's got everything that everybody always asks about. So it has our pricing. You probably don't want that. You want the book. It's got the 32 at-home workouts, which I did with Sue Becker from Bread Beckers that a bunch of people wanted. It's got a couple other things. And in addition, it'll have a link to a Google Doc, which will be this book. It'll be, so you can have this ebook. It's about 20 pages long, and we're going to cover some things in there. But parents, I would say this is a great thing to pass on to your kids, but I would also read it first. If you've never heard the idea of positive mental attitude, or if you've always thought to yourself, I've told my kids these things, they just aren't listening. And that's proximity biased. It's very hard to tell your child, do your chores because it's good for you. But if I'm a coach and come along and say, hey, you should do your chores, it's good for you, they're going to be like, hey, Coach Andy said, you just have to be okay with that. So what you can do is print this out, or actually don't print it out. Kids don't know how to read paper. Leave it as an e-link, text it to them, and say, hey, read this through. I'll pay you $20 if you read this. Right?
Well, I did try to make it simple.
It is.
The first chapter is one word. The second chapter is one sentence. The third chapter is a paragraph. And then at the end of that, I say, look, you've already read 3 paragraphs.
Which is good because these kids...
3 chapters.
Yeah, 3 chapters. Yeah. So kids need that, I'm a success. I need a star. I need a like. I need a whatever. So they're going to get 3 chapters into this book in under 1 minute. It's awesome. And actually, it's for me, who I don't like to read very much, it was pretty funny. And I got to that. I'm like, oh, that was good stuff. So, okay, so we're going to go through a couple topics in this book. And again, this is something beautiful that I wish other families, parents, or generations would do. So my dad stopped, took the time to literally type something out to pass on to the next generation. Maybe slightly too late for me because I'm more than 13, but he has got something like 15 grandkids or something to that nature that, maybe that's too many, but that could listen to this or see it or hear it. And it's not me, the parent, it's you, the grandparent, saying something of value. So pass on your generational blessings, not your generational curses.
Well, the subject matter still applies to me, and I'm 77. So it'll apply to everybody. The examples I used are aimed at a teenager, so a teenager can implement these and see himself or herself in it.
Hey guys, we did a little pause there because we can, since it's technology, and I just hit play or resume, and here we are. And we don't know where we were in this, except for the fact that we're talking about my dad's book. Okay, so fun facts here. The dogs are loving my dad. I guess they look at him as the bigger alpha. So we have Ollie, the Great Pyrenees, who is like, he looks like a little Shrek. He's huge. And he is like, can't get enough of my dad. He's like, can I touch you? Can I jump on you? Can I lick you? It's quite hilarious. And he's probably like, you smell like Andy. Yep, there he goes, trying to jump. So I may have to pause it again and get rid of him. But, so the ideas that my dad's got right here, he's not the inventor of this. We stole it from everything. Pretty much everything that's really good is begged, borrowed, and stolen from someone else and just
definitely
edited. So tell me what you found in there. So this is like part of his book. He's got this written in here.
So if you make it to chapter 4, I point out that this is not a new concept. This is was said back in 170 A.D., where the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius said, "Our life is what our thoughts make it." So it's carried forward in a bunch of books. Had a dog on my back.
I'll put him back outside.
Okay.
Hey guys, so yeah, we took a dog pause. This is real life. It's happening. You are living in my kitchen right now. So it's a fun thing to be able to put on a podcast to bring information to the world, especially with your dad, who again, imitation is the highest form of flattery. So we're going to roll back into the book. We just talked about Marcus Aurelius. I think there's other things that, like, if you're not in the know, you may just never know these things, like positive mental attitude, PMA. Some of you may have never heard that word. There's another concept that he's going to go over that you may have never heard of as well.
Well, before you can actually address your positive, you got to get rid of your negative thinking. And a lot of the negative thinking has been handed to you by your parents, your brothers, your sisters, your teachers, whoever influences you in your life. And you'll hear things like, I can't read, I can't do math. When I was a soccer coach, about every other kid said, I can't kick with my left foot. And it's not that you can't, is you need to practice more, and so you can be proficient at it. And so by saying you can't do something, ends up that you won't be able to do it.
Right.
Your mind will say, he said he can't do it, therefore I'm going to make it happen that you can't do it.
Or make it not happen, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the programming that if you say it enough times, it does become reality. Like
right.
I have seen, never having been a teenage girl, but having 2 teenage girls, I can tell them, I love you and you're beautiful. And I'm trying to tell them a story that there is a man out there that loves you and thinks you're beautiful, right? Your dad, whatever. I said that weirdly, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And then one boy at school will say, you're flat, you're ugly, or you're chopped, or whatever. And that becomes the story they start believing.
Oh yeah, and it's incredible how fast they pick up the negative.
The negative is fast. Nobody, for whatever reason, doesn't believe the positive. Not nobody. It's harder to believe the positive. So I was at I've told people for a long time, if you want to shortcut the process of anything, hire a mentor. So if you want to be better at soccer, get a soccer coach to help you. Don't just go out there and kick the ball around, right? If you want to be better in business, hire a mentor. Find someone who's been there. So in this case, this is you have been there. I have been there. The side tangent is I've paid a lot of money to be in this entrepreneurial group to help me with my businesses, the rental properties, the gym, and the next thing, whatever it's going to be. So we had this lady speaking. She was awesome. And mostly I think she was awesome because she's from the South. So she said, oh, bless your heart. I'm like, oh, I know what she's really saying. And the Northern people are like, what does that mean? They're like, oh, yeah, you don't know. But so the new thing they say, this negative thinking, they'll call it, what are the stories you're telling yourself?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. And so like watching teenagers, so this book is for 13s, but even adults. I mean, I work with adults all the time. And the stories that people believe that aren't even true. They just heard it for so long. Or like I can't go to the gym because I'm out of shape. Well, weirdly, guess what type of people go to the gym? People who are out of shape because they're trying to get in shape, right? I can't eat healthy because I'm big boned. Who said that, right? It's these stories that we just throw out there. So how would you identify a negative talk or a negative story? How do you identify these?
Well, I think you really have to just listen to yourself as you go through your day and write them down and to identify them, because they take all sorts of shapes.
Right.
It's if you catch yourself saying, I should do this, and it's usually followed, but I won't.
Right.
Or I want to be this. Those kind of phrases are in themselves usually negative, unless you say, I'm going to take action. And so if you're in a position where you're telling yourself negative things, and like the boy says your nose is big to the girl, then they become in an atmosphere or in a presence that's what they think. Mm-hmm. So everything that's said that supports that, they grab onto, and everything that negates that, they discount.
Right.
And so it's like you can use any kind of.
I'm fat is a big one.
Yeah.
So this lady, Carrie, I need to, if I remember, Andy, when you're listening to this again, in the show notes, put Carrie's book. So note to self. So Carrie, I'll listen to it again and I'll put it down there. So it'll be in the show notes. I'll actually link my dad's book also in the show notes so you can get it from there. But so Carrie, she said her brother, when they were teenagers, said, hey, you probably would be cute if you lost 15 pounds. And she said, I was 45 and I've been hearing that story my whole life. I finally, or maybe 40, whatever it was, she's 50-ish now. She's like, I finally lost to 15 pounds. We were all at Thanksgiving together. And he turns to me and says, hey, you should eat more. You're wasting away. And she's like, so ladies, I hate it when you do this. Men, they do this. She carried that conversation on, that story, in her head for 30 years. And she turned to him and said, what is it gonna be? Do I need to lose 15 pounds or do I need to eat more? And he's like, I don't even know what you're talking about, right?
Exactly.
So I guess there's 2 points here. Ladies, don't hold it against us men. We're stupid. Don't carry that conversation on. So the negative self-talk was there. The story was relayed, right? Guys, you said something, you didn't even know it. So this guy had said it to his sister in passing, didn't know that he had shaped her story for 30 years.
Yeah.
That's powerful. So dads with your daughters, watch the words you say. Husbands with your wives, watch the words you say. The most common thing here in this household is, Dad, you're a dick. I'm like, I know it. And I'm trying hard to not be a dick. I am so sorry. What can I do to be better? And so we talk about that. I openly acknowledge it. I do not mean to be. I just come off intense. And so it's something that I work on. But we talk about those things because if you don't talk about it, you'll never know it. So you had mentioned something that I asked this of everybody as well. You said journal. So I have got a book here in front of me. I've been doing this podcast for almost a year. I still have a journal of questions that I ask people because journals help you remember where you were and where you're going.
Right.
So we tell people food log. If you can't lose weight, write down everything you eat for a week. I'll show you where you can lose weight, right? It's because you don't think right? So if you tell stories in your head, write them down. I did an episode on here called, I think it was like getting off of caffeine. So I had a race coming up and I wanted to use caffeine for the race. So in order to make caffeine a drug I could use in the race, I had to come off of caffeine for the race, right? So I think it was July 1st. I'm like, okay, days 1, no caffeine. And I just did a daily log into my phone and put it all together. But it's the journaling of it. Like, okay, day 1. I don't really feel like I need it. So it was the who, what, where, when, why, how, right?
Right.
So when you think these things, I'm in the mirror and I just thought your hair is not pretty enough. Okay. Is it the time of day? What time is it? It's 6 a.m. I'm in front of the mirror and I was doing, right? So now you have a build out of what's going on. Now later on, you may go into the mirror again. Let's say, I don't know, you're at school. Let's say you're a high school kid. You go to school, you're in the mirror, go in the bathroom, and you look in the mirror, and you're like, my hair's not good enough. So now it's not time dependent. right? It's not location necessarily. I'm at home, I'm at school. It's I'm at the mirror. So now you've identified every time you look in the mirror, you are negative self-talking yourself. That sounded weird. You're negative. Yeah, that's the right words though. But, right? So now you've identified it. I look in the mirror and I say, so instead, now I'm going to say, when I look in the mirror, I'm going to say, hell yeah, you're beautiful, right? I'm going to start changing the story. But you have to identify it. So if you don't journal it, you'll never really know what's going on.
Right. You say it so often to yourself, you don't realize you're saying it. It's the bottom line.
That's the scary part.
Yeah.
You don't even know it's there.
And it's even worse. You may be parroting somebody else's thought, like in this case, the girl's
Carrie.
brother.
Yeah.
She is taking somebody else's. As Gandhi said,
Right.
I don't allow other people to walk through my mind with their dirty feet.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah. We had, what was the other guy? I think it was a Deion Sanders quote, but I like it as well. It was something like that. I'm not going to let your insecurities ruin my self-confidence or something. I don't know what he said, but Deion Sanders is now coaching Colorado something. Yeah. And I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know anything about football. Thank you. And that's my dad's fault. But the stuff he says as a coach and dad, it's all valid.
Yeah.
His
son's playing quarterback.
Yeah, I think he's got another son. He's like a son's a quarterback and his other son is a something or whatever.
I don't know.
So Sean Neal came down and he was explaining to me like all the stuff that went on with that. And I mean, he loves football and baseball and all that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, he's telling me the stories and he's looking at me. He's like, I don't like talking to you about sports. He's like, you don't even know what I'm talking about. I'm like, I don't. But I understand the concepts. He's saying things. So basically what I was saying is he sounds like a coach from the 80s minus the a-hole part, right? But he's just, I am confident. I know what I'm doing. I love the one. He's like, I was prime time. None of y'all, you're all like 27 and you're telling me how to coach my team? I have shaped the world. You just report on it. I'm like, that's exactly right. That's positive self-talk. Yeah. And that's taking other people's negative talk like, oh, you have a big cowboy hat on. You can't wear a cowboy hat. You're not a cowboy. He's like, shut your mouth. I'm like, that's it. And you have to do that. So here's the hard part. Your book is telling people, kids or adults really, how to do that to your inside voice.
Right.
Right.
And the key is understanding how the mind thinks. How you when you talk, you're programming your mind.
Right.
So while you're talking to yourself, your mind is gathering data and trying to redirect or direct the results that you want that you're telling yourself. So as you're telling yourself things that are negative, they say, okay, he wants this negative output, and so I'm going to make things happen to direct the negative. So you need to start changing your program in order to change your results. So the way the mind is actually working is your programming that you're telling yourself creates your beliefs, and your beliefs create your attitudes. Your attitudes create your feelings, and your feelings determine your actions, and your actions in turn determine your results. So the way to change the way you're thinking is to change the programming. And so if you have positive programming, you will end up having positive results.
There's this little guy I know who said it very similar to this back in like the early 70s. He said that lies lead to fear. Fear leads to hate, and hate leads to the dark side. He's a friend of mine.
I think I saw him in a movie.
So that stuff. So
he's a little green guy.
He is a little green. Yeah, I almost said that. I was like, that's going to give it away. And I think the ladder that you laid out is good for people to understand because you can shortcut some of these things. Like I have heard people do this. Like I want the results of being fit, but I am missing all of the pre-steps. You know what I could do to shortcut it? I'm going to go in the wrong order, and I am just going to show up at the gym, action, right?
Yeah.
And I am just going to start doing. Weirdly, you can progress backwards too. So if you smile, or like, here's a good one. Whenever I'm at the grocery store, here it's usually Publix because God made Publix as well as Chick-fil-A, and that's in the South, so we all go to Publix. All you Kroger haters, just stop it. So if I'm in Publix and I see a shopping cart, I grab it. So my actions are going to help me remember, hey, you are humble, helpful, and happy. Happy, humble, helpful. Those are the three things that I live my life by, right? Happy, humble, helpful. What do they do? Happy, humble, helpful people would probably grab somebody's cart, right? Now, I made the mistake. I stood by this lady just waiting there. She was unpacking, and she's like, kept checking me out. Not like I'm like, I should probably say something.
I usually tell them,
Yeah.
I'll take your cart when you're finished.
I do that now. The first time I just stood there, she was like, what? I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I was going to take your cart in. She's like, you should move along. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll do it next time. I get it. Sometimes people and I don't get along, and I'm trying hard to be a better person. But my point there is you can insert yourself into an action and push it backwards. So the mirror thing with I look at my hair in the mirror and I don't like it. Okay, so my action is going to be every time I see myself in the mirror, I'm going to say, I am beautiful. And now I can push those things reverse, right? So I can undo some of this damage that was done to me.
Well, the problem is if you believe it to be true, it will be true.
Oh, yeah.
And so the world is flat is a truism that made sailors stay next to the coast for decades.
Right. That and tiny ships.
Yeah. and
potable water and a couple other things.
Yeah. Yes. Earth is the center of the universe, or this car thing will never replace the horse. There's a whole lot of
Internet's a fad.
True, yeah, it's a fad. It'll go away.
I once knew this guy. So it was funny. So back in like 1996, this one fellow came up to, I think it was his dad, and he said, "Hey, we should buy these computers and call them servers, and then we're going to deliver virtual mail. We're going to call it email to people." And that dad said, "That's never going to catch on."
In my defense, I said, write me a business plan and I'll support it.
That is true. You did say that. It was funny. So his son, my brother Charlie, has come up with so many things that have happened technologically that he could have done, but he didn't do. So everyone needs to go find Charlie on Facebook or YouTube. Actually, it's probably Charles on there. And then watch anything he does on technology, because it's about to get big. He's always ahead of the curve.
Yeah, he's real big into AI.
Oh yeah, we're going to do a podcast about AI to help people understand why it's not going to take over the world, but how you can use it to make your job in life better.
Yeah. Well, he's using it to create art. He's using it to create music. He's using it to write programming software for him.
Unfortunately, I think he's also using it for friends, which you can't do that. You need to come to the gym, Charlie. If you're going to listen to this, Charlie, come to the gym. We have friends waiting for you. Okay, so back to this idea in the book. So I stole a concept from somebody else that I don't know if I've ever shared this with you, but I feel like it would resonate well with this book. So I would say you have two people on your shoulders. One is the coach and one is the critic. You know, in cartoons, it was the angel and the devil, but it's the coach and the critic. They're you. They're your ego and id or whatever those, right? So the critic says, you suck at soccer. Yep. And that's it. And they stop. The critic is only there to tell you how bad you are, and you're going to listen because it hurts and you want to crawl back in your hole. The coach says, yes, you are bad at soccer, but if you juggled for 15 minutes a day, your foot skills would go up, and that is a primary indicator of how good you can be at soccer. So the coach identifies the problem area, but then gives you an opportunity to fix it. Listen to the coach. This is really all we're telling you is find the things you critic, your self-talk or the other people, identify it and turn it into the coach. You suck at soccer, but, right? ... whatever it's going to be. You can't be healthy, but if you started, you could be, right? You can change any of the negative self-talk into a positive with a how or a but or a when or something like that.
Well, the key is to, in my thinking is to say it like you're already done it. So I am healthy. I eat right. And that in turn makes you lose weight and makes you fit. And that's but the mental thinking of saying it positively is a way to address your concerns.
Yeah. So I know you listen to all my podcasts. You'll remember this when I say.
I have listened myself.
We're laughing. He listens to the one with the grandkids in it. But there was this one that talked about that sort of thing. They, the PTP, powers that be, they did a study and they said simply by changing the words from I can't eat sugar, let's say, to I don't eat sugar, the ability for you to successfully achieve that goal goes up by 100%. So it's 3 out of 10 people can work on that goal. I can't eat sugar. 3 out of 10 people will stick to it. 6 out of 10, if you say don't, will do it. Now here's the kicker. When you change it to I am the type of person who doesn't eat sugar, I am healthy, I am fit, and you change it to the positive talk, it goes up to like 8 out of 10. Yeah. And then when you write it down, it's like 9 out of 10. So it's fascinating what your brain pulls in and does just by rewriting the word scheme, right? So you change the story, you make it in happily ever after, right? You write it positively and as if you've already got it. And your mind, when you sleep, you're going to wake up with that idea. Have a piece of paper near you because if you're like me, the idea is gone in under 30 seconds. Yeah.
Well, going back to I am a wrestler, that was in positive. I am a wrestler.
That's right.
I win my matches. It's like,
except for the ones where I got pinned, but
it started out. I'm not going to lose, or I'm going to try to win. It's I win my matches, and so.
Did I tell you about the McCann kid anchor I had the kids write up?
Yeah.
So we did the same thing, and it was mostly to combat the anxiety that I saw developing. As they were getting older. So mostly Olivia, because she's the oldest, and then I could see it with Evan, right? So we took these things and we changed the talk, right?
Your self-talk.
So yeah, except I made them say it every day as we rode to school.
Yeah,
and they're
that's how you, I bring up the idea of a Boy Scout. Does a Boy Scout join the Boy Scouts because he's brave, trustworthy, helpful, friendly, kind?
No.
Or does he become those attributes as he repeats the Scout law time and time again?
Yes.
And he memorizes it, and therefore his mind becomes that person.
That's it. So I had opportunity. So dads, if your kids ever say, come to the football game with me, you go. Now I get it. We went to the Auburn UGA game down at Auburn. So I have Olivia at Auburn and Evan at UGA. And they're like, Dad, come with us. I'm like, okay. And by the way, would you pay for the tickets? I'm like, I see what you did there. Yeah, because they're all on budgets now. That's fine. I am the money man. I will buy their time. When your kids say, let's go line dancing, I'm like, Olivia, let's do it. Evie and I went out and bought belt buckle. Well, I bought a belt buckle. She got a little dress and boots and all this stuff. So we all went like all in. I cannot line dance. But my point in the story is, had the opportunity I get to drive Levi back from Auburn. We went to church with Olivia because she really wanted us to. And I like church. That sounded weird. Right. We should go, and we did. So we were driving home. Levi says, I want to drive home early. I'm like, no, we're going to go to church with Olivia because she wants us to be there and experience her world. So let's do it. We're driving back, and we have all this time in the car to talk about whatever. So it's a 2-hour drive. Actually, it's a 3-hour drive because there's a time change. Yeah. So, but it's 2 hours in the car. And they're on their phones, they want to do stuff. But Levi did a good job. He put it down and we talked. And I said, if there was some things that I wish I could go back and do, it would be to sooner have a Boy Scout statement that I could position our family around, right? So for our gym, you would think everyone would do this. And they do it. You usually do it for a business. People don't usually do it for their home, but what better business do you have? It's life. You're going to be with your family so much longer. So in our business, they had us sit down and I took all the coaches at the time. We came up with all these words and then we're like, what are we? Who are we? And so we came up with the motto of the gym is we are happy, humble, helpful people who want to be healthy and fit now as well as in their 90s. And so now it gave us all guiding principles. So I do tell my coaches, do whatever you want as long as you can answer yes to these 3 questions. Because we have our statement. Does it hold true to our brand name? That right there, right? Helping people become the hero of their own story and happy, humble, helpful. Does it hold true to our brand name? Is it good for members? And is it at least revenue neutral? right? So if those three things are yes, go do it. So now I've sped up their ability to make choices because they know the principles that I sit on. These principles that the Boy Scouts have, if you have them in your head and you have the choice of, I could, I don't know, buy a solar panel for my house or
Cut off the lights.
yeah, or like buy the next fancy car.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So you're like, well, I have a chance to spend some money. I have some disposable income. Well, if I'm always prepared, right, I'm going to buy solar panels. That might be a bad example. But you see what I'm saying? In your category of thinking wouldn't be, let's go to Las Vegas and just gamble it away.
Yeah.
Because that's not a family value. So we have family values as well. And if you have those listed, then you don't even like the fights that you have with your kids can be navigated so much quicker because you're already there, right? So in our household, like, hey, Dad, I would like to go by myself with a bunch of teenagers on a cruise. Okay, let's look at our family values. And they're like, yeah, I guess it's not even going to be part of something that I should ask for. Now, I will say on that story, it was kind of funny. Levi's friends are like, hey, we should do a senior cruise because they don't have a senior like getaway anymore. They took it away from the kids or for the school like isn't doing it. So I was like, hey, buddy, I think if you were 18, I would totally let you go. And he's like, yeah, I'll be 18 by then. I'm like, son of a gun. I guess the answer is yes then. You totally got me on that, right? So it was funny. He's like, I'll be 18. But they made good choices. Yeah. Anyway, so the Scouts have this. Did you have anything in your life? Like, did you have something that you wrote down for yourself or your family, which would be me, or your next family? That doesn't sound right, next family. We have a very long, extended family. Dad's got basically 3 sets of different aged kids. And so he's had opportunities to refine and perfect his child rearing.
Yeah, the last of them didn't get as many spankings as Andy got.
Yeah. Well, I probably deserved a lot of them. I can definitely see where I caused trouble on purpose.
Maybe the wild child. But in the book, I lay out one of the things that I had self-talk about, and it was my inability to read well.
Yeah.
And so I started at 5 years old in first grade, having not been read to, and skipped kindergarten. So when I read Dick and Jane, I stumbled along, couldn't pronounce stuff, and the kids laughed. The ones that could read laughed, and it got in my head that I can't read. And as I went through high school, I would buy the crib notes, that yellow book, and I would skim that. I wouldn't even read that. And then I went into college, and the professor said, or the admittance guy says, you aren't going to make it. And he was damn near right. But I had an English professor that helped me after I made back-to-back D's in English. But
D for done? It wasn't done? You couldn't just get out of it?
No. And then I got a job, and I graduated college without ever reading a book cover to cover. That's how bad it was. I would read and put myself to sleep.
But it's true, you can't read.
I can now.
See? So, right, so it's fascinating, this self-talk that you got. Like, let me tangent you here. I wanted to change my name to Andrew as a kindergartner. You know why I'm not Andrew and I'm still Andy?
Because I kept saying Andy?
No, because I couldn't spell Andrew. I'm like, A-N-D, oh crap, I guess I'm Andy, right? But you get pegged with these things, and I still have that. Like, I would, in high school English, they'd be like, okay, we're reading Romeo and Juliet. I would go through the book, find Capulet number 5, who had 2 lines. Hey ho, Romeo, right? And I would be like, Capulet number 5, whenever she's like, what parts do you want to do? I would pick it, because the chance that I get picked as Romeo so scared me that I would voluntarily shoot myself in the foot and read something, right? There's only like 9 parts.
Yeah.
And there's 40 kids in class. I'm going to read something because I don't want to be Romeo.
Right.
And so I did the same thing. But you found a way out of it.
Well, when I went to work, I realized that this person needs to do something to fix it. So I signed up for Evelyn Wood's Speed Reading Dynamics.
I will find that and link it. I'm sure it still exists.
Well, I have the reference in the book of how to do it, but
Okay.
it's simply you underline what you're reading and you try to go fast, and the faster you go, you can end up going just pulling your finger down the page and reading the whole page with your eyes just scanning the words, and you understand it. It's amazing. I got there, and as soon as I got there, I said, "I'm doing it," and I had no idea what I looked at for the next 3 pages.
That is true. So something that I learned. So we got Evie tested for dyslexia and some stuff because she was having a little bit of struggle, and the things that she was doing, I'm like, so your dad and your granddad also did these same things. So one, you could still be an engineer if you want, because we've both proven it. You know, unfortunately, 57 and 75 are still valid, but of and faux are not word, right? So you can get a lot of bad grades just because you messed up your numbers, but it's possible. So we took her and got her tested. They're like, her IQ is off the charts. So she was like 131 out of like 136 or whatever it was, except in these 3 areas. And it was like, she's almost dog level, right? And it was, you know, reading and some other comprehension. And I'm like, it's going to be okay. There's ways out of it. And so one thing they told us is those with dyslexia, when they read a book, do not paint the pictures in their head. It's only words. So let her watch the movie first. So her brain has like pictures of it. Yeah. I'm like, that is fascinating. I'm going to try that for myself. So anyway, they were talking to her. It was all about her, and I'm trying to not make it about me, but she and I have the same problem. So I'm almost in tears. And you know how much of a robot I am. I don't cry. And I'm almost in tears because I'm like, wow, she doesn't have to go through, I'll be Capulet number 5, right? Yeah. So the self-talk, I'm trying to help her out of it, but I'm like, I have my normal crutches, alcohol and cigarettes. I'm like, that's not going to work for her. So I need to come up with other crutches. And I'm just giving her crutches. I am not actually fixing the problem. And I was still giving her, medium self-talk, right, not positive. I'm like, oh man, even knowing better, I was still blowing it. So anyway, it was fascinating to see what they've come up with as strategies to help. Whereas in the 80s, or for you in the 1920s, they're just like, you're an idiot. Go to the back of the line. Yeah, you're like, all right.
But you know, having to read proposals for sales and stuff like that, it required me to go fix my problem, right, and not blame other people about it. Right. You know, my teacher, my parents, you're in the blame mode as you go. And so in the book, booklet, I encouraged the 13-year-old not to, you know, criticize others and just, you know, take it on themselves to fix the problems.
Right. Which is hard to do. So parents, if you don't do this for yourself, read the book and start trying. Once you've got that, you can then teach yourself. Like, did your dad mention any of this stuff to you?
Not that I remember.
It was a different way of life, for sure. Times change, but yes, your parents love you, and yes, they probably spank you, but you can leave a generational blessing by doing something and passing it on. And this is something I think it's great. You've passed on something to me, even from the beginning of Where There's a Will, There's an A, and then when I started co-oping, you're like, hey, listen to Brian Tracy on cassette, you're gonna love it. Getting me down that path, right? And now, my kids listen to books on Audible. And so Evan has really jumped into it. He listens to like so many books. I'm like, you should probably slow down, but I don't want to tell him that. And they're eventually, like every once in a while, they'll throw in a book about just becoming a better me, right? Yeah. And so if you don't know these skills or have them or have any way to reach out for them, that's not great. You should always be sharpening your axe or sharpening yourself as the tool. And this is a great way. It's an easy way. I mean, it's a 20-page book. Read through it. The concepts aren't hard, and you lay out a lifetime's worth of learning right there for you and then your 13-year-old or whatever to listen and do something with.
Well, if you want to read the longer version of the concepts, the main concepts that are in this book, I got from a book. It's entitled "What Do You Say When You Talk to Yourself?" and it's by Dr. Shad Helmstetter. Helmstetter.
I will link it in the show notes. That way people can find it. Yeah. So this is a great thing about podcasting. I'll go back and listen to these, and then I'll put all the stuff that I said. Andy, put it in the show notes. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I need to do that.
Yeah.
So I'll find it and put it in the show notes so you guys can click on the link and find it. I bet you it's on Audible, and you can have someone read it to you.
So after you've identified and eliminated the negative, you want to add the positive, and the positive is what you want, not what I want. You want to add your positive thoughts or directions to get the goals you want. And like we said in the I Am a Wrestler, it should be stated in the positive, like you've already done it. So you in other words, you want to take a statement like I want to lose weight and make it I am
losing 1 pound a month or something. I have already lost 1 pound this month.
My weight is perfect.
Sure. Oh, okay.
And you create this ideal of yourself, a perfect weight. And you say, well, I need to be a little more perfect. I'm going to lose 5 more pounds.
Sure. Yeah. So it's kind of funny. I was with, in our mastermind group, I was in a table with some girls and or ladies, and we got on the subject of like the negative self-talk in your head. And because I'm a guy, I haven't had all of the thoughts in my head. And so they're like, what's your ideal weight? They're like, well, maybe back when I was in high school. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. To me, I'm just thinking that's interesting. That's it. And then she says, like, and we're just doing like a role play type thing. And she's like, well, why? Is it because you were free and there was no responsibility? And right. And she just goes down the list. I'm like, oh, dang. It has nothing to do with the weight. It's the feelings and attitudes I had back there.
Yeah.
So really the answer to the question is, it's not that we need to fix your weight. We need to fix your mindset.
Your mindset.
I'm like, dang, that was so deep. And I'm like, you guys do this all the time. And I'm just not that deep of a person. I'll ask why questions, but to have that like whole thing unspilled between the two of them so fast, I'm like, wow, you guys have done this before and you've lived that life, right?
And you're saying, how do I apply this to my daughters?
No, for sure, right. I do. Again, with that, I do that a lot in my life of what can I be better as a dad, a husband, and a coach. And it's weird how applicable things are. You just change the title. I'm dad, I'm husband, I'm coach. And these things, everybody struggles with them, right? So it's funny the number of times I've been on these podcasts with people and they're like, hey, one thing that the gym gives me is positive mental framework. I'm like, fascinating. So the fitness is good, but the positive in your brain and heart is better. Yeah.
Much better.
So it's fascinating what can come about from these things, right? And what goes along with them. Not just, hey, I'm fitter, but also my mind space is better. All right. So what's next in there? What else do you want to tell people about either your book or the things they should know that are in your book, that are also in your book, or booklet?
Well, for the 13-year-old, or at the end, I try to give them some guidance about where they're at 13, and they're entering what I call the danger zone.
Yeah.
So you're becoming a person that is no longer dependent on the parent, and you can cross the road by yourself. You can ride the bike down the street, and so you have to be more aware of your decisions, because some decisions will kill you.
Yeah. Do you know what the top 3 causes of teenage death is?
Other than fast cars, alcohol, and women.
It's teenagers. Basically everything, it was kinetic impact. So they did something stupid, fast. Yeah. Then it was homicide, suicide, which are, again, kinetic impact. So basically, teenagers, watch out. The biggest thing the top 3 things that take you out of this planet are you.
Yeah. And if you catch yourself saying, hey, watch this as I ride my bike off the top of the roof, stop.
From experience? Unless you're going into a pool, maybe. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, don't even do that. Yeah. I do want my kids to push the rules a bit. So when they get in trouble, like the school sends home a note, and I'm like, I'm okay with that. Push the rules a little bit. Yeah. Or if they do something at home, I'm like, let's talk about it. I like that. Hey, push against the boundaries, because they're only boundaries because I just don't know if you can do these things or not, right? So Evie's learning to drive. She's driving the Ford F-150 around, which is a lot of car. I'm like, oh man, those mailboxes are so close. So we're getting up pretty close to the school, and there's this kid on a bike. I'm like, hey, don't turn right, because this kid on a bike has not looked at you once, and you're 15, and he has no idea that you don't know when you should or shouldn't go. So when those cars that are turning into our lane stop, it's probably okay for you to go. But this guy on the bike, he's probably going to go exactly when you feel like it's time to go. Yeah. So I said, let's just pause. And so sure enough, the kid didn't even look. He's going to Roswell High School, and I guess the light flashed, so he gets on his bike and he pushes off. I'm like, were you going to go? She's like, it would have been the good time to go. And Ford F-150, and the kid, maybe he's right, but it doesn't matter.
You're dead right.
Yeah, that's right. So it's watch out if you're a teenager. Yeah. Open up your eyes, especially with driving and phones. The whole generation where phones and texting was a thing, man, that was bad. Yeah. Yeah.
It still is bad. I mean,
right.
Your sister knows better, but I get a text while she's driving.
Right. So you can do it on the phone. I mean, you can, like, your Honda does the Honda link. You can talk to them. Yeah. So I actually forced my kids to make sure we had the Honda Link stuff, or the iPhone link, so that they could interact with their phone without actually. Yeah, I said Apple CarPlay. Thank you, Levi.
I figured this out recently because my friends got a ticket.
This is Levi talking from far away, so he can't. You may not be able to hear him. He should walk closer to say this. No, leave it on. Don't take it off, because it'll be hard to get back on. He knows how this works.
One of my friends recently got a ticket because they were stopped at a red light near the school, and they wanted to change their music, so they picked up their phone and clicked a different playlist and then put it back down. And so they got pulled over for that. And the cop was like, yeah, you can't, like, support a device with your body.
Yeah.
So if you leave it laying down and you look at it and touch it while it's laying down on your car, it's fine.
Which is probably not as good as at least having your eyes up, but I see what they're trying to do with that law. The law is teenagers hurt themselves more than anybody else, right? I'm just going to slide this back up so it's on the right place for you. There you go. Okay, so anything else in the book that you would like to highlight?
Well, one of my early on favorite sayings was Dale Carnegie's the 3 C's: don't criticize, condemn, or complain. So if you can eliminate that.
Could you say it with a positive? So how do you say that positive?
That's how he said it.
Yeah. No. Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So you could say it positively, but
if you put your hand near your face, there you go. I know, because they're mic'd. We're mic'd up.
We're mic'd up.
Yeah, this is the year 2023, and we are mic'd up via Bluetooth. So we got technology all over the place here. So that is good. So I love that. I often tell people, and I get in trouble for this, don't complain or don't bring it to your boss or the coach or whatever unless you have a solution. Yeah. Which is how I got into coaching. Because I was like, hey, your coaches are doing things that are really bad. I would be happy to volunteer as an assistant coach to keep my eyes on them. And it was like deprecating children, or like there was stuff. And they're like, okay, you're in. I'm like, oh, man. But at least I went with a problem and a solution. Yeah. So come up with a solution. That is a great thing to do. Okay, I'm going to, anything else in the book you want to throw out?
No, that's
anything to advise or lead people with?
Well, there's a whole bunch of ideas and concepts beyond the book. You know, like
it's a starting place.
Yeah, like if you have kids, engage with your kids, participate, get out there and
get your pants dirty.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I say in my house. Get your pants dirty. Let's do it. Be part of it.
And that actually ends up showing some love. So
right. So kids spell love Time. You've got to give them time. You can't give them quality time. You just give them time. Hey, Levi, come here for a moment. And in that quantity time becomes quality time, and they want to see that you invest in them. So one thing we were talking about was the wrestling mantra. And then I mentioned the McCann Kids Anchor. I actually don't know it by heart because I never actually said it. I just wrote it. Do you remember it?
The wrestling one?
No, the McCann Kid Anchor.
Yeah.
So these are some things that I had my kids say. We've done this before in a podcast, but I'm going to put it in here right now. So Levi is going to speak into my mic and say it.
I'm McCann and I am loved and I give hugs. I am confident in my abilities and rely on God. I do my chores and homework to the best of my abilities. I am pleasant and polite and will defend my brothers and sisters. I learned the Bible and I'm a good sport. I'm happy and proud to be a McCann.
So these are just some things that we came up with. Is it perfect? No. Would I change some of the things now? Probably. But it's something, and something is way more than nothing, right?
Yeah.
I love it when people, like, when they do a zero thing, like, I've never hit a baseball, and they hit it one time, they're like, oh, I'm 100%. I'm like, well, actually, that's an infinite percent better, because you had a zero.
Yeah.
Or the other one, they're like, I changed my life around, I did a 360. You're like, so you're back to
back
drugs
where
and
you
alcohol?
started?
Like, that's not what I meant, I know. I just can't stop myself from saying it. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you some questions, and you can say pass, or you can throw in an answer.
Okay.
Unless you got some other thing you want to put in there.
I'm good.
Okay, so what was your first job ever?
My first job,
Yeah.
delivering newspapers around the neighborhood.
On what? Did you drive your car?
Of course not. I had a bicycle with a basket in front, and we got the newspaper on the porch, so it's not out in the driveway; it's on the porch.
When you threw it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did they? So did you have to go somewhere to get all the papers ahead of time, or did they deliver them to your house to be delivered?
No, we went down to the pure gas station.
Yeah.
And the bundles were delivered there. And then when there was inserts, we had to put the inserts into the paper. Sit there and put the inserts in, and then take the papers and deliver them.
How were you paid?
Back then, the paper I was delivering was 35 cents. So I think I got like 2 or 3 cents per paper.
Okay.
And then I had to go out and collect the money. And then when I collected the money, I had to turn it over to the route manager. And I got to keep the portion that that I earned.
Sure. So things that I want people to hear in this: one, his route manager was probably Two Toast Tony, and it was probably a collection agency, right? So there's probably some stuff going on where you could hide money around. But you delivered for 2 cents per paper.
Probably.
People don't even know what change is, and if they were like, "Here's your change, it's 2 cents," which nobody's going to do because nobody uses cash anymore, that mattered, and people would find a penny on the ground and pick it up. Now people don't even like, what's a quarter? I don't know. Yeah. So the amount that money has changed just in your lifetime. 2 cents meant something. That is not going to happen. And there's a guy driving around in a car throwing him out his window because a kid can't do it anymore, right?
Well, the routes are bigger, and people have accepted the paper laying in the driveway. So the guy drives down the road and throws them out the car.
Do you still get the paper?
I do.
Do you? Okay, it's a holdout. There's many things I don't do. Well, I've never really read the paper, but that was one that when it went away, for the most part, I didn't even notice.
Yeah, I wouldn't notice it either, except I work the Sudoku every day.
True, you need to do that puzzle. So anytime that I get accidentally eat sugar, so I had somebody gave me instead of unsweet, they gave me sweet tea, and it goes in my mouth, and that's enough for the sugar to light up my frontal cortex, and I felt it. I was like, I spit it back out, but I was like, hurry, somebody give me a puzzle because I can solve this real quick. It's funny how like it's firing, so which probably means I'm living in a cloudy like days, but that's probably normal man, but anyway, so yeah, Sudoku. Okay, so 2 cents per paper. That, guys, if you're thinking to yourself, how can I earn more money? Just remember, in 1955, my dad was earning 2 cents per paper. Is that about right?
Yeah,
1945, so 55?
Yeah.
10 years old, hustling. So eventually I'm going to have Alan and Oliver Mullinex on the show. Podcast, whatever this is. And he's, I think, 13, 14, somewhere in there. And he's started his own lawn service. And the number of people who want their lawn to look better because they work from home is dramatic. So the dad, Alan's like, yeah, he's like crushing it. I want to tell him stop, but this is great business. So they'll be on here. We're going to talk about how a kid can hustle. What's something that your parent or grandparent taught you that you found pretty valuable?
Yeah, I was asked that question by Storyworth, which is a book that my daughter asked me to write, and
So it's an online service that asks you questions and it builds a storybook of your life. It's very cool.
And so what I came up with was my dad would. The saying I remember my dad saying over and over is engage.
Dang it, Mac! Is that one?
Engage brain before operating mouth.
Yeah, that's a good one.
He's a mechanical engineer, so was I. So it became a. Usually after I said something stupid, he would say that. But
I set the bar really low on my verbal sparring. So when people when I throw out my dad jokes, they're like, they know that the bar's low. Every once in a while, a good one lands, but I say things a lot. And I'm like, why did you say that? I'm like, I don't know. Let's see. So you mentioned earlier, you're 77. What would you have done, or what will you do? I don't know. What's something in health and fitness? So, I've got a gym. I do some crazy things. And we've talked about, hey, just do push-ups on the steps. You're like, I can do that. I can't do push-ups. My shoulders hurt so bad. But push-ups on a wall or a step. So what's something that I guess two things. What's advice you would give somebody that's coming along the way? And then what's something that you're doing for yourself?
Well, the major advice is don't do things that hurt your body.
How can you shape that positively? Positive self-talk.
Positively stay away from things that
do things that enhance your physical capabilities.
So I played football, and I'm not mean like my brother. So I now have 2 metal knees from it. And in college, I played a lot of handball and racquetball, and you would go crashing into the right wall and hit the ball, and then go over the left wall and crash into it with your shoulder. So I now have 2 metal implants for shoulders. So even though they can fix you, take care of your body.
Yeah. So just handball is racquetball without a racket. So you're using your hand. So think about how aggressive you have to be in slapping and stuff. So so my whole life, your shoulders and your knees were a thing. And then they got your knees done and you grew by 4 inches or something because you could stand up tall finally.
Stood up straight again.
Yeah. So I think that's something that we could all learn is your high school sport or your after sport isn't everything. Yeah. Right? So even now with CrossFit, when we started doing CrossFit, it was, let's do this heavy weight and do some muscle ups and barf everywhere. And you're like, okay, this is unsustainable and dangerous. We need to be smarter. So the concepts of CrossFit, constantly very functional movements executed at high intensity. Intensity is variable, right? And you don't have to do that all the time. Like today was a move day for me. I went in there, had a teammate. Jeff is 10 years older than me. And we just gentleman's handshake. We're not going to go crazy on this, right? And we're like, let's just have, right? So we just moved. And we did a pretty good job for two of the older guys in the gym. Finished the workout. It was supposed to be like a 25-minute time cap. I think we did it in 22 minutes. And we reduced the weight or whatever, but we were smart. So we're moving some weight, we're jogging some, we're going below parallel. So do smart things for your body, because if you don't fight, feebleness is chasing you down, and it will win. It wins all the time.
Yeah, it does.
You have to fight it. Okay, sorry, that's my soapbox. I love this stuff. So how did you hear about CrossFit Garage? Just kidding.
Well,
there was this guy. You birthed it. You literally birthed this into existence.
Yeah, my daughter owns a gym. And son.
That's true. Your other daughter does too. You have multiple. So shout out to Carol, who owns CrossFit Plant City in Plant City. So it's also our sister Vivian also coaches at a CrossFit gym. And we have CrossFit all over.
CrossFit Tucker.
Yeah, CrossFit Tucker. And then Reagan works for Wodify, which is a software tool that a third of all CrossFit gyms use. Okay, so let's see. No, you're not going to want to answer that one. It would be too long. So if you had a billboard, so there's a billboard on 92 that I used to rent, and if you could have that billboard, or I guess any billboard, and you could put a message to the world, any message you want, doesn't have to be health and fitness, it could be whatever you want. What message would you put up there for people to see and read every day?
It doesn't need to be health and fitness.
No, you can be anything you want.
Well,
So don't be like Cam. So Cam says, I want to die at 99 at the hands of an angry husband. I'm like, I can't put that up anymore. Yeah.
I wouldn't put that up there. I was thinking more along the line of Jesus is watching you or something like that. You're trying to get a message across that there's more to this life than gathering of things. So
okay, so that's actually, I wasn't even going to go here, but you brought this back up just with that. So there's more than things. So we have a time horizon, right? Our time horizon. So when I did the CDC 10 Ways to Die thing, they're like the average age for an American is 76, which doesn't mean you die at 76. It means the average age. So you have all these people dying in front of 76.
right.
Which means there's a skewing to people living past 76, right? So if you can make it to 76, you're probably going to make it further. No one really is the average, right? So one, what does it make you think about when your son, me, has gray hair also? Does that baffle you, or you're like, damn, you're old?
No, it's just...
Is it normal?
It's just the way it is.
Yeah. Sometimes I look in the mirror, I'm like, who has the gray hair? Oh, that's me.
I fought it for a long time with dyes, but I was calling on customers as a salesman, so I wanted to present myself differently.
Right. Yeah. You were working until 76, so you worked very, very long. I mean, you still work-ish now, but not in that. Yeah. But so if you ever want to build or create something, my dad has this like ability to say, oh, well, you should just use a pneumatic pump or whatever. And he can help you create whatever it is. So if you have an idea out there that you want to get out, this is the guy that you can source all of your gear with. He sold very cool things for a very long time. So is there something as like, hey, this isn't probably it. For those who believe, I mean, one of the reasons, like, I think, well, there's many reasons you should believe, but I think a reason is if you love your children, this is the only way that says you have an opportunity to possibly see them again. So it's like, right? So as I find that I love my children more than I love anybody else's children, that's just a thing, right? Yeah. I will probably love my grandchildren more than I love, right? So I don't know, what kind of advice would you say as we're like, I mean, I'm 50, almost 50, so I'm past the hump or about, right? You're past the hump. What advice do you give to people like as we finish up, right? Anything you would pass on? Like I don't know, you said something good earlier. I'm trying to jog you don't remember. We're too old. We're like, I don't know what I said. It's been an hour, Andy. You expect to remember what I said back then?
Well,
one of us don't spank as much.
Yeah, you do tend to mellow, and you try to think things through a little more than being spontaneous. So,
right. What do you think about this? The world as it kind of is with all these, like, you can't say words, or nobody sits down and watches Thursday night TV anymore. Like what's been some of the most baffling changes or interesting or whatever in this 77 years? Like, what change recently or whatever? Like, I find it interesting. We never sit in front of the TV. Like, we used to all sit in front of the TV on Thursday night, must-see TV. I had a bowl of ice cream. We watched Star Trek, Cosby's, and something else, right? For an hour and a half, we were all glued to the TV together as a family. And while it's just watching TV, and that sucks, now everyone just watches their phone by themselves.
Well, and that's what I was going to say, is the phone has taken over the kids' lives. I was at the ball game last night. Braves lost to the Nationals, but we tied the team home run records. But I would say over 80% of the people there were looking at their phones.
So they're at a game, but on their phone.
Looking, yeah.
I think that's like a delayed gratification thing, or a attention deficit. Like, I can't stay tuned in to one thing. I need input.
It's almost like a pacifier.
Oh, that is awesome. If I can come up with a funny way to say, oh, I see you got your pacifier in or something, maybe that'll get people off the phone.
But I mean, just be able to put it down and have a conversation with somebody is key. turn it off.
I love it when my kids actually call their friends or they call them. I'm like, wow, it's still a phone. Because it's not a phone very often. It's something else, right? Okay, last thing. What are some books that you like or recommend out or podcasts that you listen to?
Well, there's several, but I think Doug Adams' 4-book trilogy is right up there with teaching them some creative thought.
That's Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. This is why the answer to life, the universe, and everything is
42.
Yeah, everyone should know that. It's 42. There's another episode early on where I explain why it's 42. You have to go listen to it there.
So semicolon.
No, asterisk.
No, asterisk.
That's it.
Yeah.
ASCII code.
Ask.
What other book? Did you listen to any podcasts besides this one? Because I know you're listening to all of my podcasts.
I have not joined the podcast world that much.
What do you listen to when you drive?
I have a phone full of music, so I just
You listen to music?
I
never listen to music anymore.
Down the road singing.
Yeah. You would enjoy. There's some good podcasts out there. Weirdly, there are so many. You'll find one that you're actually interested in.
Yeah.
So, like to go to sleep at night instead of letting my head spin. I used to keep a booklet and I try to write things down, but I kept waking up and writing things down. So now I can spin out faster. I put a D&D podcast in, and I like it, but I don't really care what happens. Yeah. So I can kind of tune out, and it just helps me drift off. But
I've never had that problem.
Yeah.
When I go to bed, bam, I'm down.
Yeah. I've recently taken up coffee by an unfortunate high degree of coffee and realized that I can drink coffee and go to bed, which I think everyone says, well, then you're ADHD or ADD or something, because that just means you're mellowing out. I'm like, I don't know what it means, but
yeah, I don't need it.
Yeah. Can you go to sleep after drinking coffee?
Well, I've backed off. I drink half calf, and then I've limited myself to 2 of these things, which is probably 4 cups.
Yeah, that's not nearly as big as mine. Yo, Schwartz, it's not as big as mine.
You're bragging.
Yeah, I'm bragging. Okay, so guys, I will link all the stuff in the show notes below. Also, if you're interested in getting Mac McCann, my dad's ebook, and sharing it with your kids, if you go to CrossFitGarage.com and you fill out any of the no sweat intro things, or it's the contact forms. There's a bunch of contact forms on multiple pages, call to actions, if you will. Fill that out. It'll put you in our system. You do not have to come in for a no sweat intro. When Jamie texts you, just say, no, I was just interested in the booklet. Totally fine. It comes out with the very first email. So make sure you actually put your email in there and you spell it correctly, because you won't get it in there. If you don't want to get it that way, my email address is andy@crossfitgarage.com. Just email me or go to the contact us, and you can do that, and that's fine. And that'll eventually get to me, and I can send you the link directly. If you're here in Woodstock and you want help and you want to be around people who have this positive mental attitude, or look at the glass as half full, we are happy, humble, helpful people who want to be healthy and fit now, as well as in our 90s. The word CrossFit may be scary. It's just a methodology of getting fit. It's just functional fitness, and you're coached all the way through it. The word garage may be scary, but the first place we had a garage door, so we're like, I don't know, let's call it CrossFit Garage. So it's not scary. It's just guys who randomly came up with names. And anybody can do this stuff. If you need help with your nutrition, Coach Laura works with a lot of people in nutrition. If you need help with just life coaching, while I don't actually, everybody that's in our gym gets me as their coach for free. And so I guess the easiest way is to sign up and I'll help you. But if you need help, man, just email me, text me. My phone number is actually on the website. So that's my phone number. Levi says don't do that, but what does he know? And so hit us in any way. We are happy to help here. And we want you to have that story you're telling yourself of, I am the hero of my own journey. All right, guys. Andy McCann, CrossFit Garage. Come see us. Take care.